Good evening. Some of you may know me as James T. Kirk. You may think that I live in the skies, among the stars. Well, I do live among the stars. But the truth is I am Canadian. I live in Canada. Today, I am going to break the silence and reveal one of Canada's best-kept secret. I am going to talk about the sport at the origin of our national sport, hockey. Yes, you never suspected it, but hockey did not just appear like that. Long before ice rinks and forums became available, before inventing skates, this sport existed indoors. The sport was called hockey. It was a sport that anyone could practice in large rooms as well as in the more restricted spaces like apartments or igloos where it was invented. Let me explain how it worked. The sport required a casual item found in every home, an ice cube. The other tools depended on the mood of the athletes. At first, the sport was played with a part of the human body.
Fascinating.
The athlete took the ice cube and pressured it against a part of their body. Beginners played with their hands, but many took this endurance test to the next level and used their armpits, their feet, their tongue, and so on.
Illogical.
The one who could stand it the longest was declared the winner. The time was over when the athlete gave up or when the cubes were completely melted, whichever came first. It was played in solo, in groups, or within a family. Usually secretly because it was very addictive. It was so addictive that sometimes people or animals used frozen metal paws for the lack of access to ice cubes when outside of their home. And bad consequences happened.
Illogical.
Sometimes the goal was to make the highest amount of noise or to crunch the largest quantity of ice in a small amount of time. Again, another form of endurance test. Of course, crunching a lot of ice can freeze a mouth, so to keep this muscle alert, they were allowed to sip 40% alcohol during the competition. Somehow they did not last long. So the use of other household items to hit the ice became popular as a replacement. Many used their blenders without its cover. They used food coloring for the ice to compete on the distance traveled by the ice. Other objects like hammer, potato masher, dentures, shoes, were also used.
Fascinating.
All-time favorites were sticks, brooms or knives, used to kick the ice cube everywhere around the house. After a few years, the government passed a law to forbid the sport as property damage quickly spread, and led to a huge tax loss which put the country into a depression. I told you it was addictive. The government had no choice but to ban this indoor sport. The prisons were full for 20 years of addicted people refusing to stop playing. You now understand why the referees are dressed as they are. The matches were broadcasted from prison for 2 full decades. The image stuck to the sport. Eventually, we took the sport outdoors, turned hockey into hockey, and believe it or not, we lived happily ever after. I hope you enjoyed my little story on the true origin of hockey. It is part of our not-so-well-known Canadian creativity. Now, the next time we meet, I will share with you another fascinating piece of our Canadian history. The true origin of our ever-popular maple syrup. You won't believe it until you hear it directly from me. I hope to see you then.